Today, I'm starting a series on how to build your own PC, step by step. Part 1, a few things you should consider before you even get started. Welcome back to Dad Talks Tech. My name is Jason. Thank you so much for being here today. Before we get started today, I want to thank everybody who reached out to me to show some support for the channel and what I'm trying to do. It means so much to me that you take the time to throw a quick note to me. And I want to thank my very first patron. I've started a Patreon membership. If you want to get more information on that, you can see the link in the description below, but I want to give a shout out to Soul Gaming, my very first patron. So thank you. Your support makes it possible to not have to rely so much on the manufacturers to bring components and those kind of things to the charity builds. So I started building my own PCs about 25 years ago or so, and back then there weren't a ton of people interested in taking the time needed for the research, the components, and learn how everything worked together, and then troubleshoot if things weren't going the way that they wanted them to or working out correctly. So there wasn't a ton of people that were interested in building their own PCs, at least not in rural Illinois where I grew up. But today, there seems to be a growing interest in building your own PCs, so I wanted to create a resource to help you plan and build your very own PC. This will be part 1 in a multi-part series in which I'll take you step by step through the process of everything you need in order to build your own computer. Now, there are a few things to consider before you just go out and buy all your components, however, and that is what we're talking about today. First thing you should consider before building your own PC is, should you even build your own, or would it be better off buying an off-the-shelf model from Best Buy or wherever? Let's talk about why you should not build a computer yourself. So number 1, building a computer is much more complicated than just purchasing one off the shelf. Motherboards, RAM, GPU, DPU, CPU, PDQ, NVMe, AIOs, so many parts that I made up a couple of those and you probably didn't even notice. When you build your own computer, not only do you have to know what each of these parts do, you have to buy each one separately. You have to make sure that they all play together nicely and that one part doesn't cause issues with the others. Not only that, but there are a huge amount of options for just one particular piece. Right now, if you go to newegg.com and search just their stock RAM sold by Newegg, there are over 1,400 different options, ranging from $19 to over $1,700. With a range like that, it can be difficult to know which is the one that you want to pick. It's much easier to let someone else worry about all of this. When you buy a computer off the shelf, presumably the company has made sure the CPU doesn't conflict with the motherboard and the GPU, and the RAM is the correct speed and type. And if something doesn't go right, you can just shoot them an email or a phone call, which brings me to my second reason you shouldn't build a PC. Number 2, no centralized support. When you're building your computer and something doesn't boot correctly or something just doesn't work, you can't call up the manufacturer and have them diagnose the problem. You first have to do some digging and troubleshooting on your own. And then if you can determine a part is bad, you can contact that manufacturer, but you may have 5 or 6 manufacturers for a single build. Even though buying a PC off the shelf will most likely cost you more than building a similar model yourself, for some, the support you get from that one manufacturer is well worth the price. So if you're not the type who likes to tinker and troubleshoot on your own, PC building may not be for you. So now that I've successfully scared off some people and want to go over the reasons why you should build your own PC. 1, it's never been easier. Yes, it's more complicated than picking up a model off the shelf, but manufacturers have made it easier than ever to build your own. No longer do you have to worry about serial ports and parallel printer ports or setting your BIOS perfectly in order for things to even boot up. Everything has been made more user-friendly, and the depth of information out there, like this series, is a million times better than it was back when I started building my own PCs. Right now, PCs are enjoying the highest popularity than they have ever been, and Thanks to the rise of streaming through websites like Twitch and the amount of great games available now in the PC gaming world. And with that, manufacturers have streamlined and made their parts more consistent and congruent with each other. RAM can only go in one way. CPUs are the easiest they've ever been to install, and graphics cards can only go in one type of slot. All of this has made it much easier to go it alone. So number 2, it's much more configurable than purchasing a computer off the shelf. Although some off-the-shelf companies allow you to choose a couple different options for their components, you are still limited to what they have to offer. If you are the type who likes to have control of what goes into your computer, going back to what I mentioned before, there are so many options available to you if you are wanting to build your own. That allows you to build the exact thing that you need. If you want to focus on gaming, you can choose a better graphics card. If you want to focus on photo and video editing, you can choose more RAM and a faster storage. Whatever your particular use case is for your computer, from the basic office applications and Netflix watching to the highest gaming streaming rig out there, you can completely tailor it to your needs. It allows you to spend more money where you want and less where it's not needed. And speaking of money, the third reason to build your own computer is it's cheaper than it's ever been, at least in the lower to mid-tier range. Yes, we live in a world where NVIDIA's 2080 Ti can be upwards of $1,500 by itself, but there are plenty of great value cards that can play the newest and most demanding games at 1080p in the $200 to $250 price range or lower. Not only that, but the CPU competition between AMD and Intel has been very interesting. AMD's core counts to budget ratio is giving Intel a reason to be more competitive in both pricing and performance. All of this, along with dropping RAM costs, new generations of graphics cards on the horizon, make the value to performance ratio of building your own PC more compelling than it has been in the couple decades that I've been doing this. So number 4, the knowledge you gain. I'm a bit of a do-it-yourself kind of guy. I like learning how things work and knowing how to fix it. If a sink is leaking, I can fix it. If I want to redo my flooring, I can do that too. I build furniture and work on my own cars to an extent. If you build things yourself, you get to know how things work. And if you build your computer on your own, you start to understand how you can fix it when things start to go a bit wonky. Plus, it's a lot of fun putting these things together. It's really getting to be sort of like adult Legos, but more expensive. Although, have you seen the price of Legos these days? Anyway, the experience of putting a computer together will help you gain the confidence and knowledge to not only troubleshoot your computer, but also possibly take on other projects that you might not have considered in the past. But be careful, because you might just end up being tech support for your parents. Just kidding. Love you, Mom and Dad. And I'm always happy to help. Number 5. Going along with confidence and knowledge is a sense of pride. When I look at the computers I've built, it does give me a little satisfaction knowing that I put that together and I can fix it if something goes wrong. There is something to be said about having this piece of hardware sitting on my desk that I put the hard work into. It's the same reason I liked building my fireplace and a lot of other DIY projects around the house. So hopefully I have given you a couple things to think about when deciding if you want to build your own computer. If some of you more advanced people want to throw in your 2 cents into the comments below, please do so. There are varying opinions on all of this, and I wouldn't mind hearing some of yours. In my next video, that will be part 2 of this series, I'm going to be talking about all the parts needed to successfully build your very first PC and how they all interact with each other. I want to again thank my very first patron to Dad Talks Tech, Soul Gaming. Has pledged his support and will receive some special benefits that are only available to my Patreon members. If you want to learn about the benefits of becoming a patron member of Dad Talks Tech and help the channel be less reliant on manufacturer donations for the components needed for the charity builds, you can find that link in the description below. So that is that, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that alarm bell so that you can be kept up to date with all my future content. As always, comments and questions can be left below, and I'll see you all next time on Dad Talks Tech.